name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Just a reminder, just like I said in the opening, yes, it is a time to cheer and celebrate and feel good because all this cultural commie filth, they are turtling up right now. They are pulling back, but they are not done destroying. They are regrouping. Joining me now, somebody who has kept them on the run, my friend, filmmaker and activist Robby Starbuck. Robby, it does feel good. DEI is retreating a bit right now, but they're not at all done, and they certainly haven't disappeared, have they?
No, I've heard a lot of people saying DEI is dead, and I get the reflexive desire to go celebrate, and you should. People should celebrate, but don't celebrate too hard because it is not dead. It's like a cornered, wounded animal right now. We have the opportunity to kill DEI. We absolutely do, but it is going to take us being ferocious and showing absolutely no mercy. We have them in a great position right now because they're going to do a lot of stupid things out of, trying to sort of save their own skin and their ideology. We just have to stay on top of it, and we have to be absolutely merciless in the way that we handle this.
Robby, tell me about these executive orders you've seen so far. What do you love? What are the details of these things?
Yeah, so essentially, this is gutting DEI from the federal government, and it's setting, sort of I'd say, first order of business to get rid of the DEI programs, to put certain employees on leave, and to sort of draw a line in the sand of what is going to be allowed and not going to be allowed anymore. And there is some clarity I would like on one end, because they're saying that people who are attempting to conceal DEI have 10 days to come forward, and if they don't, there are going to be adverse consequences. I would like to know what those adverse consequences are. I think that's very important that we know what those consequences are. And I do think one of the next, sort of orders of business for government at this point is that we need to take seriously that one of the big problems that occurred in the first Trump administration was the bureaucracy worked against him. They defied the orders of the president at every turn, or they slow walked them in an attempt to stop him from being able to do his job. I think that we need to ramp up the pressure on those bureaucrats by creating a real set of consequences that includes serious jail time. If we do that and we actually enforce even maybe existing laws and say that this could be categorized as some form of treason, I think then we're going to be in a good footing to actually root this stuff out. I can tell you just my own experience over the last 24 hours, these agencies are attempting to conceal DEI already. I put up the documents from an NSA whistleblower last night on my X page where it very clearly shows that the NSA was planning to conceal their DEI program under a new name. I got that up. Elon Musk responded to it. They are going to be on this. They're going to stop it. But we're going to need to go agency by agency investigating them to ensure that every piece of these programs is obliterated.
Robby, I'm glad you exposed them for what they are, because I'm hearing very similar things about the FBI. People I know within the walls of that building are warning me. Of course, they closed down their DEI office, and all they did was send that cancer to every other part of the place so it can continue to do its work. What have you heard?
Yes, I actually posted last night, same thing. The very next group of people that came to me were from the FBI, and we're working on corroborating the details of what they gave us. But essentially, it would mean the FBI was planning to do the same thing. And here's what's so dangerous is if you don't fire these people, you're then sending a new seed to a whole new department across many different places, which I would argue is actually possibly going to be more damaging than having a standalone DEI program where they're all in one place. If you have them sort of, put put their roots in different sections of the agencies, you have basically moles for this ideology. And I think it's also time that we are very clear in the way we talk about DEI. This is not just an ideology that's toxic, that we don't like, that is, left-wing in nature and basically, allegiant to some new weird form of Marxism with very frankly bizarre tentacles. It's actually a national security threat. This is something that could really, if you let it play out, could destroy our country and could destroy our future. You saw that crazy, wannabe bishop lady talking about fear for children. Well, I'm afraid for our grandchildren, they're going to live in a country that's attacked by another country, and we are so weak and discombobulated by this ideology that we're destroyed and our kids' kids are killed as a result of our failures. So we need to be on top of this now. This is a national security threat in every way, not just because we have an anti-American ideology that is festering within our government, but also because just on the very clear basis of merit, we are hiring people who are unfit to do their jobs. They're making us weaker as a byproduct, and we cannot afford to shift our standards downward to bring up people who shouldn't be there in the first place. So it's incumbent on us, and I think it says something that this is one of the first orders of business, that the Trump administration, President Trump, understands how important this issue is. We need merit once again to reign. And so it's going to be on each individual new appointee that Trump makes who is in leadership to make this their first order of business as well, and to deploy those teams to go and investigate. I myself have made myself available, no cost or anything. We're not like these grifters in DEI who want consultant fees and all that stuff. I've made myself available to give every bit of advice I can give and to sort of point out where the bodies are buried within agencies. And we're happy to continue doing that and offer that advice and help in any way that we can, because this is critical to root out, or it is going to be the roots by which we see the next evil tree of leftism grow that essentially can destroy our country. The way we saw the Biden administration, they were on the way there. If Kamala had won, this would have been it. And that same tree can grow once again if you do not cut out the roots and strip them out entirely and poison the ground where it grew.
Robby, I agree. Tell me about your fight in the corporate world. What's the update on that? That's obviously what really got rolling here. You were taking down these big commie corporations. We've got McDonald's on the run, Walmart on the run now. But are they doing the same thing we're seeing at the NSA and FBI, where they're taking the commie hag at DEI and putting her back in HR where she used to work?
So that's a good question. I'll say this. So there's a clip going around today of a lady at the World Economic Forum talking about how Walmart didn't really make changes. Well, she was wrong, but she did do something that I would like to thank her for. She named the person who told her this. And I can just say I'm in conversations right now with the company, and I think I'll be able to give an update later, either today or tomorrow, on exactly what's happening there. But I can say the companies we're working with, I would say nearly all of them, I can say with confidence, have actually gutted these programs. They've actually done what they said they were going to do, and we are checking. And I think what makes what we do a little different than people who do investigative journalism in other, sort of areas is that our investigations are all predicated on the testimony of whistleblowers who work at these companies. So we can check in with them, or they can come to us if there are any issues that pop up again. And we're very clear about that with our whistleblowers. You see one thing wrong, you let us know. And it has happened a number of times where they see something wrong, they come back to us, and I'll go back to the executives, I'll talk it through with them, and we'll get the things fixed. Or in the case of one company that we're continuing to collect evidence on, they're continuing to think they're getting away with it, but we're actually just collecting evidence for a future story to be able to out them once again for their misbehavior. And so we're able to hold companies accountable because of these whistleblowers, and that's sort of what makes things very special. Now, will companies be preparing to do what we just talked about, where they just change the name and that's it? Oh, absolutely. They're doing it right now. A number of companies are doing that. But we've been collecting data on a lot of these companies for, I guess, it'd be about 8 months now. So we have a wealth of information collected in folders on most of the major American or global companies. And it's stuff we can use later to be able to sort of rein them in and correct any mistakes on the way that they're doing these things. So we're watching. It's just, the difficult part for us is scaling up to handle the number of companies there are that are a problem. And so a big part of the next few weeks for us is continuing to scale up to the appropriate, sort of force we need to be able to do this. And that's what we're doing right now, is getting everything prepared for the rest of the year. Because effectively, I think if we do everything correctly, we can have effectively neutered DEI to the degree that you could actually say DEI is dead in 18 to 24 months. But it's going to take concerted effort across that 18 to 24 months to really kill it. And people have to be very aware. We cannot get complacent just because Trump won the election. This is going to be a serious threat at every turn over the next 4 years, because they understand what an existential crisis this presidency is for leftism. And so it's going to take us too to motivate Trump and motivate the administration in the right direction. So people have got to stay engaged. They cannot get complacent.
Amen. Stay in the fight. Robby, as always, thank you, my friend. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.